We are once again faced with the combination of ignorance and arrogance from Donald Trump, and it's always a perfect storm of what I call weaponized ignorance around the economy specifically. Remember when Donald Trump called now criminal National Security Advisor Michael Flynn in the middle of the night to ask him, hey, is a strong dollar or a weak dollar better for the American economy? Donald Trump dealing with the economy is sort of like you realize your car needs the transmission rebuilt, and you bring it to a guy who only knows how to diagnose whether the car is out of gas or not, and often even diagnoses that incorrectly. You're not even going to be able to assess the transmission with the guy who can only read the gas reading. And that is similar to what is going on with Donald Trump in the American economy. Maybe a better analogy is your engine blows and you bring the car to a bakery. The baker is equivalent to Donald Trump dealing with the economy. It was a signal when Trump called Michael Flynn and said, is a strong dollar or weak dollar good, that this is not a guy who knows anything about the economy. And Donald Trump tweeting yesterday, quote, Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve fail again. No guts, no sense, no vision, a terrible communicator. So to really do this correctly, we've got to go through it sequentially. Donald Trump has continued to just rage over the idea that the economy would be doing way better today if the Federal Reserve would help him out with more and bigger federal funds rate cuts in the way that Trump believes they've, quote, helped out previous presidents. Now, Donald Trump has gotten 2 rate cuts recently. I believe it was August 1st. He got a 25 basis point cut around August 1st. Don't remember the exact date. And then he got another 25 basis point cut yesterday. 25 basis points is like 0.25%. But Trump is insisting it's just not enough. And the truth is that both increases and decreases to the federal funds rate can, quote, help a president, because the logic is if you cut the federal funds rate, it makes it cheaper for banks to borrow money. And that can conceivably stimulate economic activity, and that will boost the stock market, and it will give something to Donald Trump to brag about how great the economy is doing. But when the federal funds rate is increased, it can also help the economy in that the Fed must see the economy as being strong enough to tolerate a rate increase, signaling that things must be going pretty well. So first of all, it's not even cut and dry that only rate cuts help a president look better in terms of the economy that they are stewards of. But to analyze this outlandish behavior by Donald Trump, you also have to dig deeper about, in the modern economy, does a rate cut even really do the things that we historically believed rate cuts would do? And the answer is only sort of. The mechanism that is imagined for a rate cut to help the economy is the Federal Reserve cuts the rate. This leads to Americans buying more durable goods like cars and stuff like that. Interest rates drop on mortgages, so people will buy houses. They will refinance mortgages and save money and have some extra money every month to spend on other stuff. But the reality is that as the economy continues to modernize, the reality is a federal funds rate cut of 25 or 50 basis points is not going to have that significant an effect. People aren't saving up, waiting for a rate cut, and then they go out and they get a car and a house and refinance. Spending has much more of a natural cycle that's related to where in life people are and other factors. And in addition to that, you've got to remember that the bottom half of the economy has had stagnant wages for like 40 years. So a 25 basis point cut or a 50 basis point cut or a 75 basis point cut is not going to stimulate any significant amount of spending for a lot of those people. They just don't have any money. So the long and short of it is that even this reliance on rate cuts to, quote, jumpstart an economy or to prevent a recession, it's old thinking. It's, of course, based on the sort of economic status quo that has not been good for half of the country anyway. That's a bigger conversation. And of course, Donald Trump is furious not only about only getting another 25 basis points, he's furious that the Fed is predicting GDP growth of only 2.2% this year. Remember, he was promising 3, 4, I think he even talked about 5% GDP growth under his presidency. Of course, it's not happening. It was never going to happen. And sadly, the Trump stuff around this is a really big distraction from some bigger economic questions that we don't have answers to. Trump is flat out wrong about the federal funds rate. Trump is attacking the Federal Reserve chief that he selected, Jerome Powell. I mean, it's crazy, but it's a distraction from what happens to the economy if we don't deal with climate change. Isn't an economy that is based on infinite growth on a planet of limited resources fundamentally a mathematical impossibility? How good is an economy really, even if the stock market is high or unemployment is low, if half the country can't afford an unexpected $400 expense or is one illness away from bankruptcy? There are really important questions to solve about the economy, some of which we're going to talk with progressive economist Dean Baker later on today, which I really look forward to. Donald Trump doesn't even understand the problems, never mind potential solutions. And that's probably the biggest tragedy of all of this. Make sure you're following The David Pakman Show on Instagram at David Pakman Show. And while you're there, follow me at david.pakman. People loving the picture I posted with my dad's dog yesterday, Nemo, the English lab, who has gone gray. He has a gray beard now, not me, the dog. Follow me on Instagram at david.pakman. Follow the show on Instagram at David Pakman Show. Quick break, back after this. Hey, really quick, I want to tell you about one of our partners, Vincero Watches, giving our audience 15% off everything they offer. These guys are awesome. They craft really stylish, top quality watches for both men and women, but they sell them at a fair price. Unlike a lot of their competitors, Vincero assembles their watches in small batches, which enables them to meticulously ensure the quality of every watch. I personally wear a Vincero watch. I don't like the idea of spending thousands of dollars on a watch when I can get a really excellent watch for $150, $200. That's what I think is great about Vincero. You get a watch made from top-notch materials. They look like watches that you'd spend a ton of money on, and they're built like high-end watches, designed mechanically with longevity in mind, but you don't have to spend an arm and a leg. Their entire goal is to make watches of superior quality available to the average person. I just got a new one called the Kairos. I got the white and silver version. It looks great. I've gotten a ton of compliments. They have a huge variety of styles, so it was easy to find one that fits my tastes. There are a bunch of other companies out there selling watches at similar prices, but a lot of them look very cookie cutter and just don't offer the same level of craftsmanship as what you get from Vincero. You're not going to find a better made watch at this great of a price. They've got a watch for any type of look you're trying to go for, formal, more casual. The straps and colors are interchangeable, so you can customize your watch to your own preference. And you can get 15% off everything in their store when you go to davidpakman.com/watch and use the code Pakman at checkout.